Exit Wounds is a deep recounting of the experiences and realities of black men in today's world. It is shown how social stereotypes have repressed black men by creating invisible and irreparable wounds that last a lifetime, and which leads us questioning the balance between what is seen as justice and social imbalance. The socially entrenched prejudices have a significant impact on the self-esteem, motivation, and pride of black men. So please join my co-host Chris and I, and our welcome guest Daryl Barnes from All Things Black Podcast, and therapist Earnell McGaney, as we embark on this five-part mini-series from a black man's perspective on how the world looks at us through the looking eyes. All right, welcome back to another episode of Exit Wounds, um, mini-series through the looking glass. I'm your host along with Chris um, from through the looking glass fast, and got a great panel again with these fellas. Mr. Earnell, the Wildcat Therapist, Mr. Daryl, Mr. Daryl Blackovation, and we're gonna get into this. This is our last episode 5, and looking to have another good conversation and carry on with what we've been doing so far. Do a little quick check in, and then we'll get right into it. Start off. I'm doing good. I'm fine. Had a great week. Everything's great. Um, Arnell, let's go. What you got? How you feeling?
Doing good. Yeah, doing good. Feeling great. Week's been good. Weekend's good so far. Happy to be here. Ready, to stir some pots, cause some trouble.
Okay. Chris?
I'm doing excellent. I'm just glad to sit here. Another great conversation with some great men here, great black men.
Yeah. There.
And of course, yes, sir. Man, just happy to be happy that you know what? Just happy to have had been in a degree of proximity to you, brothers, man. Just siphoning off your energy. That gives me, energy as well, and give me a lot of hope and stuff like that. So I appreciate that, man. But I'm good. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. All right, man. This topic right here is our last topic. They call us nigga. Pretty much want to look at the stereotypes of how society views us and how we are. We touched on it a little bit in our last podcast. Um, how as far as like the emasculation, as far as like how we should be in a brotherhood, fatherhood, our mental health, and just wrapping it up. Or this part we just looking at how society views us in the different degrees, how they do, and I just want to start off by saying like at first, I think that society put a label on the black man as far as like being, I think Daryl said in the last podcast, as being criminals, as being like we always like the underdog in every situation. We got fatherless homes, we got a majority of black men in jail. People just see us and want to be and fear us, and it's a false narrative that is painted, that is painted of us, and that narrative needs to be you know diminished. It needs to go away, and just the true black man needs to come forward. As far as like stereotype the good father, the good husband, the good role model, all together, the community leader in all aspects. So as far as let's jump into as far as like stereotypes. What do you guys think? How society views us as a black man?
I go ahead and chime in.
All right.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I'll start out like this. The Negro, the nigger, the African American is a new phenomenon in the world, and I say that because of how we were birthed into the world through the systems that I will normally talk about, and at the inception of this country, right? It's a new
Mhm.
phenomenon. We were taught out of our language, our history, our God, our religion, our languages. We were taught out of that. So we were created or made into something totally different. Now, with that, you have what I mentioned earlier in the last podcast, talking about the propaganda pieces or the hit pieces that have been put out on specifically Black men and how they criminalize us and make us sexual deviants and stuff like that. And that has been channeled 100% of the time through these different mediums. You know, you're talking about news, you're talking about television, you're talking about movies, TVs, TV shows, that kind of stuff. And so, for the most part, that's been exported out inside of the community or inside of America itself, and then exported outside of the country. So a lot of people have negative outlooks on us just from what's being exported, right? And these labels have been pasted upon us, for quite a long time, quite a long time. So, and I say that to say this is that the label or the term that they gave us, right, has not necessarily gone away. It's transitioned to a degree, and that's something that we have to get into a lot later. But it has transformed, or should I say? But despite our work of trying to become, you know, really, civilized citizens in the society and go get your degrees and your homes and all that other kind of stuff, there's always a reminder that comes about, i.e., through redlining of houses, right? Or maybe you have to pay more for a house than your counterpart, your white counterpart, or maybe medical racism, right? Our Black women experiences that way more than any other ethnicity or race of woman. But there's medical racism, there's institutionalized racism, right? There's reminders that always come about. Even with police brutality, there's always reminders that come about that you're still a nigga, right? Even with your MBAs, your PhDs, your doctorates, whatever the case may be. Prime example, Henry Louis Gates, some years back, was arrested at his own home. He literally had the keys to his own home.
Yeah.
And his neighbor now, who knew he lived there, called the police on him, right? Under the suspicion that somebody was breaking into his home, and it was him trying to get into his own home. And he was trying to explain it to the police officers, and they just didn't hear it. They wouldn't hear it. So they tried to quell or calm the public by having him and Barack Obama sit down at a table and having beers, and how Henry Louis Gates forgave the police department for mistaking him as a burglar and that other kind of stuff. But the suspicion is always there. The suspicion is always there. You can walk out your door tomorrow and be totally straight. You got your gun permit. If you carry your gun, you can have all of that, right? But the suspicion that you are doing something negative or that you are under the banner of a nigga, because you still have to understand some of these people that were outright racist, they're now covert. They're in positions of power, right? And they can treat you how they want to treat you. And if they have in their mind the system of beliefs that you're a nigga, you're gonna be a nigga. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm gonna land right there.
Yeah. Chris.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's also just looking at how like you present yourself. And I know far as me, I can think about times when I'm dressed a certain way and how people react to me or how people kind of move around me. Like I said, if I go, majority of the time, everybody know me, I'm gonna have on a hoodie, some basketball shorts and sneakers. And I go to the grocery store, go to different places and see how people, I know and I can feel how people react to me versus if I have on some jeans, a button up, a collar shirt, some shoe, like some hard shoes, hard bottom shoes, boots or something like that. And it's like a whole different vibe. I'm going to the same places, but people view me differently. And I remember one time, this is when I was working Frito-Lay, and I had on just my collar shirt, and I would always stop by the gas station on the way home, stop by in there, always talk to the guy, and I would have, we have a little small talk about something. And this one day, I think I was leaving the gym, and I stopped by there, and I had on my athletic wear, and I go in there, and the guy whole demeanor towards me was different. And it wasn't until I started talking to him, and he looked up at me, and he says, "Oh, it's you." And I'm like, "Damn, I come in here every day. What you mean?" And his exact words was, "I thought you was one of them."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, I come in here every day. But because I was dressed a certain way, and I think I'm in my mid-20s, and I remember my mom, when I was a teenager, she didn't like me to wear certain things. I was like, yo, it's just clothes. What is it? And that's when it hit me like, yo, like, no, when you wear certain things, people view you a certain way. And that right there it stuck with me till this day. That was probably 10, 15 years ago. And his exact words was, "I thought you was one of them." Same dude I talked to every single day, but he didn't recognize me because instead of khakis and a polo shirt, I had on t-shirt and basketball shorts.
Stereotype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on now, Chris. You know we all look alike.
Huh?
You know we all look alike. Come on now.
Fit the description.
So yeah, that's just wild.
No, I got you. No, I mean that kind of plays into what I was gonna go to. That there's an overall negative stereotype on on Black men. And if you do dress nice, if you do speak well, you're the exception. You're not the rule. The rest of them are still bad. But I mean, you guys killed it. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. I mean, yeah, even if you do well for yourself, you speak well, there's still those microaggressions, those micro racism. Well, you speak so well, as opposed to, or you dress so well, as opposed to because I'm Black, I'm not supposed to be able to speak or dress or act appropriately out in public. Like these micro racisms and aggressions that people kind of put out there that, to them seems perfectly fine, but we experience them every day. Because in totality, no matter what we do, I think Kanye said it best, even if you're in a band, you're still just a nigga in a crew.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So no matter what you do, you're still just going to be that,
Yeah, I think we all experience, man. I know me, I've done sales and, how you dress, polo, khakis, and I'm doing sales in South Carolina, and it's you go into these factories and places like that, and the majority of the time you're gonna be talking to your counterpart, and I noticed that it was easier to talk to someone that looked like them than to talk to me, even though I knew what I was talking about. And that was one reason why I got out of it, because I couldn't grow something when I already knew that I'm not even welcome into the establishment. So I understand well about that, as far as like the way of dress and how you is. And some people just still are bold with it and don't really just say, "Hey, we good." And you know what I'm saying? They need help, they need services, but we good, And it's a whole different, man. And I experienced it on the inside of the company as well as on the outside of the company. You go off to these meetings and stuff like that, and you're the only guy there, and everybody wants to be your friend because you're the only guy there, but they really don't. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're trying to make me feel some type of way, but you already look at me already. You already look at me the way you do already. You already don't prejudge me and haven't even talked to me. Because I'm a big guy. I mean, I'm 6'2", about 230 pounds, and then if I'm walking around somewhere, I always get like the startle. You know what I'm saying? if I'm coming around, and what I'm saying, I ain't mean no harm. I got a smile on my face most of the time, and even when I got a smile on my face, they still jump. And it's like
you have to be less threatening.
You gotta be less
Right.
threatening. I have a homeboy that's in the corporate, and he's a big guy too. He played defensive end and everything. I'm like, he has to go into meetings and like make it. He say he had to make himself look small and present himself in a way that is not that's not gonna make somebody strike fear in their heart. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad to how you have to present yourself in different ways in order to make someone else feel comfortable, and you just can't be yourself in your own skin. Because they don't see you that way, and they look at you a different way. So it's like you're already labeled, man. So I mean that's
and absolutely, I love all the what you guys had to say, and so just to add something hopefully briefly to it. What we're saying is not defeatism. By no means. Again, we're talking about our own unique experiences and the experiences of a lot of Black men that we've come in contact with, and even Black women that have experienced some of the same things. So again, it's the institutionalization of it, right? It's the programming of it. All of us have been educated in a way, man, to think that Black people are lesser. No matter their station in life, no matter their degrees, whatever the case may be, you still have to go into some of these institutions and make yourself much smaller. Because once you start to, kind of buff up and be confident and things like that, some people will look at that as some of them will look at that as challenging. Even you didn't do that. You're just confident in the fact that you know exactly what you know, the skill set, all of that, right? But it becomes a challenge. I remember I was really young, man, working at, some crazy place. I had this young white boy come up and tell me literally in my face, he said, you know what? He said, I can leave here today, this job today, and go and find me a job making about maybe $32 an hour or so, right? It stared me dead in the face and said it. I can do it. He said, you can't do that. I said, whoa, why I can't do that? He said, because you can't do it. You're Black. You can't do it. Right. And I was like, damn.
That's bold right there.
I said, okay, all right, man. But was he lying? Is the question? Was he capitalizing on the institutions that was set up to benefit him? Right. You really can't necessarily be mad at that, because the institution was set up to benefit them, not necessarily us. So when we get to a space where we finally get tired and so dissatisfied, where we are saying now, listen, I need to know who the Black cobbler is that makes shoes. I need to know the Black cobbler. I mean, I need to know the Black designer that makes clothes, and I need to start patronizing them, right? I need to start purchasing from them. And once the dollar start to circulate in the way that we begin to grow, then we don't need that. You don't need that. You don't have to step into an Asian beauty store and be mistreated just because you want to go, buy your $500 lace front or whatever the case may be. You don't have to take that. And I think by and large, man, that has not completely sunk into our heads yet. We still want to be a part of this society and have the same benefits that everybody else has. But foundationally, we were not supposed to be participants in this society foundationally, right? Yeah, you had the civil rights movement where we had, people that fought for our civil rights, yada, 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 this, that, and the third, to go in some of these institutions and of higher learning, get these degrees, and then, you get the degrees, and then you do what? You take that money and then you don't necessarily try to build your own community. You go out in somebody else's neighborhood and build that up. You follow what I'm saying? So it's like we shoot ourselves in the foot a lot of times. Like, because I like what Chris was talking about was, talking about appearances and whatnot. That is correct. That helps. That definitely helps. But at the same time, it is what you're fighting is the system. And anybody can be an agent in the system, like the Matrix. Anybody can turn into an agent in the system, right? Because the system is there. So that's what you're fighting, man. So once the system is completely eradicated, then we don't have to worry about these things. But in the meantime, once the system is there, Black women are going to face medical racism. Black men are going to face institutionalized racism. We're going to face that because we have not completely eradicated. And diversity, equity, and inclusion, yada, 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 whatever. I mean, it's beneficial for what it is. But in the meantime, when you have a society of people that wants to hold power, that has been in power for a significant amount of time, they're not going to relinquish that power and give any kind of equality. They're not going to do that. And I think the hope for Black people thinking that that's going to happen is what's holding us back and keeping us in a very, particular and very, peculiar situation.
You know what's interesting about that is the negative stereotype, that people have in their head when they think of Black people. In most Black communities, that stereotype is rewarded. Like if I step out, in some khakis, I speak well, I do good in school, I'm a nerd, I'm a sellout, I talk like a white boy, I'm not really Black. But if I dress like the quote unquote nigger, that the white people think of, or other races think of when they think of the nigger, pants sagging, I'm out in the street, I'm doing my thing, they're celebrated. I'm celebrated in the hood. I'm celebrated, by a majority of other Black people. So I mean, what do we do with that?
It's that's just the narrative that's been painted, man. I mean, because you can go back, like I always go back, like Daryl was talking about how the rap and how it changed and how the mindset changed and how it was made, and now when they start calling women out their name when they talk about sex, money, and drugs, and that's kind of like how it was called like hypersexual, the whole what was the movie, of a Nation or something like that, when the white man's
Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation.
Birth
of
a
Nation, when the white man's blackface and everything, and try to say that we're lazy and that we are hypersexualized and that we want to have sex and we just want to do that, eat watermelon and make babies and work, and, be in the field, be hot, what I'm saying? That's stereotyping. And same thing with rap music. It stereotype us as want to be flashy, want to make the money, want to get the girls, want to, money, sex, and cars. All I need, what I'm saying? And that's influence, and it's a big influence because you see it everywhere. Everybody got the jewels on what I'm saying? Like, it's okay. I'm not against it, but it's okay to be flashy. But I can remember, I think Dave Chappelle said it. He said, when you become a billionaire, you don't show no money. You don't put no necklace on, nothing like that. You got on regular clothes. You look at the Bill Gates, look at the all the Zuckerberg or whatever. You look
even
at them.
Jay-Z now.
Even Jay-Z. He don't have the rings on his finger. He's not carrying knots of cash. He's not having the big chain on his check. He hold, his whole demeanor to change. I ain't saying good or bad, but you got to look at the stereotype and see what you want to become, because in order to move up, you got to move a certain way, if that's your choice. So with the stereotypes, it's just about that mindset, and how do we address that though? How do we start to change that? With that.
I mean, because I think. No, I was gonna say, I think a lot of times, like we are bigger critics, and we put bigger stereotypes on one another than let's say other races. And like I said, I can remember being my early to mid 20s, and I'm growing into leadership at the job I was at, and I had the long dreads, and I'm in meetings. I'm the youngest person there by far. So I'm a young Black kid with dreads in a meeting with a bunch of 40 to 50-year-old, both white men and Black men. And I remember a couple of guys who were like my mentors, Black guys, my mentors, they would tell me, they were like, hey man, like you really should think about cutting your hair, because that's gonna kind of impede you and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, damn, like, what my hair got to do with it? I said, as long as I can do the job and this and that. It was like, yeah, but you don't look a certain way. Later on, later on, I'm sitting at the bar, and one of the older white guys came up, and he said, "Hey," he said, "I heard what they told you earlier." He said, "Fuck what they said." He was like, "The thing about you," he was like, "you look different." He was like, "You look different. Use that to your advantage." He was like, "Now, when I first saw you," he said, "I looked at you, and he had all of these negative thoughts because of the appearance I had." He said, "But once you started talking," he was like, "Man, like you blew me away." He said, "I didn't expect that from you." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know if this is a compliment or you like put me down. Like what? Like I didn't feel some type of way." And I remember I was probably maybe 23, 24. And I remember talking to my mom about it. And I was like, "Hey, this is the thing I had." And I was like, I felt bad. Like I felt kind of bad at first. I was like, now, well, maybe if I've now changed his mindset to now, if he sees somebody else that look like me, he's not going to have those perceptions about that person. But it was just wild to me that the older black man was telling me, "Nah, man, you need to change your look." And the white man was saying, "Yo, nah, you look different. Use that to your advantage." So I think we hurt each other by doing those things.
And I think you said it before, that's that crab barrel type of effect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Trying to keep each other down instead of like encouraging your brother, holding accountability to push them forward. You know what I'm saying? Be yourself. Let them learn who you are. Don't conform to what they want. Give them, you know what, you already know who you are. Be you.
Yeah.
Don't be nobody else. You know. As far as that, I can say.
Yeah, because I know that's one thing that my dad always preached to me. He was like, "Hey man, just always be your own man. Don't try to conform into what somebody wants you to be. Be who you want to be, but make sure it's respectful. But make sure," because he was like, at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror. He was like, never make somebody change who you are, and now you can't look at yourself in the mirror.
It's true. That's true. So, what would be something? So what you said, I take what Chris says. It's like you be who you are. Don't be a typical stereotype. Because some people already judge us before we even walk through the door. They know who you are, whatever. I could talk to somebody over the phone, and they might think, they hear my voice and everything like that. But once they meet me, it's like, oh, you know what I'm saying?
It's like, oh, it was you I was talking to. Because you got a code switch.
Right, you do.
We all know about code switching.
Oh
but
yeah.
But it's like, oh well, no, we have to code switch, because the same way, let's say the four of us talking to each other right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we are in another setting, it's like, to make almost everybody else feel a little comfortable, we got to change up our tone, not be as hard, soften up our tone, and more higher pitch and everything. You can't, less threatening.
Right.
Less challenging, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a lot to say. It's a lot to say, man. It's just I'm sitting here thinking. I'm like, I've been through some real racist stuff, but but it's like you shouldn't, and it gets to where you shouldn't have to be like that, man. Because I don't never want to go into an environment where I have to change who I am or have to address people a certain way. Because I know, like, if I go in a room full of old white women or men or something like that, I know automatically if some of them that it's gonna be some type of, they're not gonna receive me as well. But it's some that I've met have been the nicest to me, and it's refreshing when it happens. But you know, just being a black man in this society, man, it can be a real challenge. And you know, it's sometimes it's heartbreaking to like think of some of the situations that you've been through and just you know, in the society, and then going back to all the conversations that we had over the time, you know, and just bringing it all together. Um, you know, this has been refreshing for me. It's also it's been a learning experience, and it's been, you know, it's been you know, encouraging for me. So, you know, just this last subject, man, it's kind of like just wrapping everything up and trying to bring everything in together to you know, because I think we as black men should be on one accord, you know, as I
Absolutely.
said.
I agree.
Mhm.
That's it, man. Just to do that. What's the time on it, Chris?
Pop up. Pop up.
We good.
Yeah, but I know now one thing I would add for the conversations we've been having with these episodes, and I think one of the things that all four of us talked about on the first one is like we really don't have much of an online presence, but I think our presence is needed online because that's where a lot of people nowadays are learning a lot of things, or they're basically seeing certain things. And I think for us having positive black men talk about certain things like this, that's not what you see online on a daily basis. So like I said, I think more of these conversations with black men is needed. And it, like I said, now I know we all probably have these conversations within our own personal circles, but like I said, I think it's something that does um, need to be more out in the open. So I'm glad that we've had the opportunity to do all of this.
All right,
And
Daryl.
not to minimize what you just said or take away from it at all. I think that there are conversations like this that's being had. It's just not as publicized as the other conversations. Like, you know, controversy always draws people in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You'll always get something. You know, I've always been told, you know, sex headlines always get attention.
Mm-hmm.
Murder headlines always get attention. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Theft headlines always get attention. And we get distracted very easily. You know, as a people, we get very distracted.
Mhm.
So so you know, there are conversations that's being had. Is again, they just might not be as publicized as they should be. You know, because right now, especially when I remember you guys talking about social media earlier, especially in a couple of
Mm-hmm.
the two episodes before. Um, you know, especially TikTok, man.
Oh,
TikTok is where
wow.
you can go and find some of the most trash conversations and
Mm-hmm.
ideologies ever. I mean, I've never been in a one spot where I've seen so many people that want to give their perspectives and opinions and are literally, I mean, you can believe what you want to believe, but literally leading people towards a path, man, where they probably don't need to go. You know what I mean? And we sit back and we spoon feed from it. We just eat it up like it's
Mm-hmm.
gospel instead of doing
Mm-hmm.
some legitimate research or saying, well, that's not the case, you know. But yeah, it's just one of those things right now where I agree with you. I think black men need more advocacy. I think we need more avenues like this where we can have these discussions and be, you know, forthright and, you know, bring up some real life experiences along with some statistical data, since everybody wants statistics nowadays. Like, you know,
And it, yeah.
like my experience is not good enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm telling you straight out what the hell is
Believe
going
what
on.
I said. That's straight up what I'm saying.
Yeah, but now I got to provide some goddamn statistics on it, which is crazy to me. But I get it. I get it though. And in certain settings and whatnot, you do have to bring something that would validate your argument. I totally understand that. But
Mhm.
you know, but just knowing that there are black men out here, man, that have had very unique experiences and can lend to a conversation right? Some good insight that could be beneficial is definitely needed, man, because the black male presence, man, is needed. There's an imbalance right now in the society. There's an imbalance in our community, and we need to start having these avenues where black men can be heard and very much listened to, right? And stop having certain people, man, say, well, you're a black man, y'all the weakest link. Don't nobody want to hear what y'all gotta say. Stop it, man. We need to get to a place where that foolishness needs to stop. But I would just end there, man. Great conversations on all 3 episodes. I really like the perspectives, and I'm always about learning and whatnot. So I thank y'all, man.
Oh yeah. Earnell, what you got from the wrap up, man? Do a wrap up for us.
Man, I mean, great conversation. Loved it. Just starting to realize even more that, man, our people got a lot of work to do. I mean, and I say that lovingly because, I love my people, but I mean, I kind of want to see us, catch up to the other races. And I say that, going back to Chris and Earnell comparison, the crabs in the bucket, just learning how to support each other, do for one another instead of putting each other down. We've got enough of that from, the outside world. We don't need that internally within our own culture. And, I would just love, for there to be more channels like this for us to have these conversations to kind of get away from that negative stereotype of, black men or black people in general that's out there and, kind of try to perpetuate, a more positive one, having our people get away from, the colorism, the internal racism, worrying about the way we speak or, how this one dresses. You're not really black. You're not black enough. Just get away from that and, have conversations like this that further, the love and uplifting of our culture.
Well said. Well said. Well, this is the final episode of the miniseries of Exit Wounds. I appreciate you, brothers, man, for being on this with us and on this platform and letting these our listeners hear your voices and your opinions on these different topics, throughout these 5 episodes. And I hope that those that's out there, if you hear something on one of these podcasts, share it with somebody. Extend it out. It may help someone do something. So I mean, we just looking, even if it's just one listener, we appreciate you. Thank you. So with that being said, I'm gonna let Daryl let us know where we can reach him at.
Man, y'all know what it is, man. Come now, I'm just But yeah, All Things Black podcast, man. You can listen to the channels. I mean, the previous episodes on there. If you do listen to the episodes, inform me in some way, form, or fashion by comment, by email, because I think email is on there as well. What you thought about the episodes, and I'm not going to read it if it's completely negative. So you might as well just forget that. But yeah, so let me know, how you feel about it, and and what you got from. Just give me a little bit of feedback, because I think all of us need feedback and help with whatever area that we may be slightly incorrect in and things like that. So, but yeah, so All Things Black podcast, streaming on all podcast platforms. Listen to it. I'm going to be doing some shorts here in the near future on that channel. And I want to say again, man, thanks to Chris and Markis for doing this. I think it's very well needed. I hope they continue it. Thank Michelle for with Through the Looking Glass podcast and the work that they have been doing. But yeah, I think it's really great, and I'm glad that there's more people, especially us, that are using these avenues for somewhat positive change or complete positive change.
I appreciate it, man. Earnell, let us know.
Man, you can find me on Google. But you can find me on Psychology Today, just first name, last name. My contact information is in there. Just shoot me a message if you need, therapeutic services. Or, if you just want to, see one of these podcasts, heard something you didn't like, shoot me some messages. I like them all, negative, positive, shoot me all the messages. I want all the smoke.
Chris, where we at, man?
All
Hey, look, man. You know it. We up in Wonderland. The Looking Glass dot fans.
Yeah, just reach out to us, leave comments, voice messages. You can like Chris says, through the Looking Glass fans. We'll take it. I mean, we'll read it. We might read the negative. I'm not gonna read. I'm like there. I don't even care. But you know, something positive, man. Something that if we said something that uplifted you, you know, thank you, shout out, whatever. But this is Exit Wound miniseries through the Looking Glass, and we thank you for your time and your listening ears. We out.